Okay, well, thank you all for being here. Welcome to our first in-person MAC meeting in a really long time. And I guess we're still getting used to the idea of being in the same room with each other. But it's both exciting. You know, I think that we've kind of gotten to this stage where we're far enough past the epidemic or at the tail end of it where we can do stuff like this again and feel like we're merging back into normal society. But also, I also feel your pain because, you know, it's convenient to meet remotely, and I recognize that it's a time commitment and an effort to be here. So thank you all for being here. I definitely appreciate it. And it's good to see you. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We can go ahead and start with introductions, and why don't we just start and we'll work our way around the room.
Jamie, nurse, me Memorial, DR.
Nick Green, sitting here, Dr. Slings Valley.
Carrie Campman, SVMH base coordinator.
Ben Hitchcock, AMR CES manager.
Jeff Warner, program director with CalSTAR.
Teresa Rios, EMS director.
John Burley, EMS medical director.
Rob Close, ER in addiction, Chomp.
Michelle Kolinsky, Chomp.
Brian Alexander, Salinas Fire.
Josh Sebniel, Greenfield Fire.
Justin Reyes, Monterey County Regional Fire EMS Chief.
Jesse Allard with the EMS agency.
Kimberly Hernandez, EMS agency.
Rena Moreno, EMS agency.
Deborah Hopgood, EMS agency. Blake Anderson, EMS agency.
Steve Brooks, EMS Agency.
Will Hiller, AMR Ops.
Sandra Flores, AMR communications.
Scott Hopkins, Salinas Fire.
Well, welcome everyone.
And those on the phone,
Oh, sorry.
on Zoom as well, if you could introduce yourself.
Silas Fisher, Monterey Fire.
So I think we got Silas and Devin simultaneously. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you all. Again, welcome. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment. So any member of the public may address the subcommittee for a period not to exceed 3 minutes on any issue not on the subcommittee's agenda. Is there any public comment at this time?
Okay, I just have one meeting item, kind of along the lines of meeting remotely with AB 361. Our county council, Susan, will hopefully be available today around 9 o'clock. And we have a presentation on the subsequent AB bill that came out of that called 2449. So if she shows up at 9, if we could just take a few minutes to go over that presentation.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, let's move on then to approval of past MAC meeting minutes. The minutes are available for your review, and unless there are any concerns or amendments, we can receive a motion for approval of the January 24th and February 8th MAC meeting minutes.
Jeff Warner, I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Jeff. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Ben Hitchcock, I'll second.
Thanks, Ben. So we have a motion and a second. Should we take a roll call vote, or can we do this now that we're here? Can we do a show of hands or?
Roll call required.
A roll call required? Okay, Steve, thank you.
Resident expert
keep
has weighed in,
in
and we
mind.
will do a roll call. Okay, we'll start with, and I'm not going to call Dr. Close just because Dr. Klinsky is here, but Dr. Klinsky.
I'm gonna abstain because I was absent. Now
Okay.
you guys changed that date.
Okay. And Dr. Close, you were not present at that meeting either, were you?
Briefly, I had to jump off before you were able to do the EMS view.
Okay, would you like to abstain as well?
Well, it's saying as well.
Dr. Greenson,
Yes, or yay.
Jamie?
I'll abstain. I'm new kid on the block here.
Okay. Carrie?
Aye.
Chief Reyes is not a voting member quite yet, but I do recognize you, sir. Josh?
I was in here, so.
Ben?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Anybody that I did not call? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The next item is correspondence. I do not believe we have any correspondence at this time, so that'll take us to reports and an EMS agency update from Teresa Reyes.
Thank you, Dr. Burley. A staff report attached to the agenda packet, just to highlight a couple of items, is the contract with the guidelines with the American Heart Association. We are working with the staff from American Heart Association to get clarifications on some of the STEMI and stroke queries to ensure that we are interpreting the data correctly. That way, when we bring these items to our QI committees, we know that we're bringing you accurate data, and then also try to see how we combine the data that is available from American Heart Association, get with the guidelines in our ESO program to do a better job in our QI programs. So more to come on that. And with the public access AED tracking and use, we reported here that we have an intern who's helping us gather all of the information for the AEDs throughout the county, getting pictures of locations, so that project continues to move forward. You know, as with everything, some challenges here and there, but she's doing an awesome job. And we are working on the ordinance. There's a need for us to update the ordinance, as we have reported in the past, bring it up to in line with some of the changes in legislation. So it's going through the process, working very closely with county council. The team is doing an awesome job. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Teresa?
Sorry, guys.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. The next item under reports is MOAC activities, and I believe Jesse has a report for us on that.
Awesome. I think Kimberly's gonna pull up a PowerPoint, and while she does, Deborah has kind of been primary Mohawk face for some time now. And when the agency hired Blake and I, one of the roles they gave me was to kind of help her in that role. And so you may see Deborah, you may also see myself and Kimberly also, because Mohawk is it's a program, not a person. It's so big that we really need to kind of tag team it from an EMS agency standpoint. They're pulling that up. There is a lot of Mohawk activity since our last meeting, primarily the winter storms. And I have a brief presentation just to kind of discuss some of the highlights of that incident. Also on the horizon, there are some storms brewing beginning Thursday night. So the Monterey County Department of Emergency Management has been messaging residents, especially in the Big Sur area, to kind of be prepared to hunker down for a couple of weeks. So more to follow as that incident unfolds. But we are at the helm ready from a Mohawk perspective. The winter storms, if this thing will work.
I can do it.
In my mind, it was going to work so great. Got this thing, and you guys, technology is awesome. But if you could advance it, that'll work just fine.
For some reason, it's not letting me advance it, so this is what I'm gonna do. Hold on. Okay, you tell me when you're ready for the next slide.
Go ahead. So again, the Mohawk is staffed primarily by EMS agency folks. We operate within not anytime, but normally when the county EOC is activated, the Mohawk program kind of functions within the Med Health branch of that EOC. Specifically, we report to the ops section chief. In this incident, the county EOC was activated on January 3rd. And I believe that the state SOC was activated just before the new year. Next slide, please. We had a bunch of, of course, with any incident, when you're kind of putting together an IEP, we identify objectives. These are just some of those objectives. These changed as the incident unfolded. Some of the just primary highlights is when we were worried that the peninsula was going to become an island type incident. And then also with Big Sur, those Highway 1 road closures, those two incidents specifically kind of led to some planning that we'll discuss. Next slide, please. There were also a bunch of temporary evacuation points and emergency shelters that were put into place. And then one of the functions of the Mohawk role is to help support the med health aspects of that, either to patient transportation or, helping coordinate, getting public health nursing staff there, staffing in general, or even med health supplies. Next slide, please. Oh,
I'm missing a slide because there were a bunch of blanks.
that's okay.
Okay.
That'll work. And then again, just kind of two things that we did highlight, or that I did want to highlight. One, we developed an EMS plan, not in silo, but really in conjunction with some of our med health partners, the hospital folks, fire, AMR, specifically communication. What would we do and what kind of guidance could we give some of our EMS system providers in the event that there were some road closures that would do two things. One, limit the ability for us to staff acute care facilities, and two, really significantly impact patient transportation to definitive care. And of course, we can't just make bridges, but I was really impressed with some of the pre-planning that you guys put into place. One highlight with Natividad, for example, they identified some of the staff that would be impacted if roads were closed, and try to house some of those individuals in hotels closer to Natividad. And that's some great pre-planning that you guys can do on your own. And that sort of leads to that desire to have that continuity of operations, and rely on yourself for the first couple operational periods. And that was a great example. The other area that we focused on was Highway 1 closed, and obviously, this happened a few years ago. It definitely predates myself, but this was a great opportunity for us to work with Chief Harris and team with Big Sur Fire, and also some of our partners from the county just below us, San Luis Obispo, Mohawk, just to kind of partner, coordinate, what would we do, what are we doing if roads are closed and impacts the ability for us to transport patients in and out. And so that currently still have a road closure in place, but there's some guidance that we put forth just to kind of help plan as much as possible. Next slide, please. Oh, just back one. Okay. We had again, I do want to highlight that Mohawk is not a person, and although it's staffed by EMS agency folks, it's really, it takes a team of players, and we did interact and kind of communicate with several folks. We had some special med health meetings at one point, and a lot of you were involved in that. But again, it takes definitely, an entire village to kind of tackle a disaster successfully, and that definitely rings true in this incident. Next slide, if possible. Two just kind of areas of communication. We, of course, tried very hard to communicate with stakeholders. We try to communicate with internal stakeholders, and then we're also mandated by Title 22 to communicate with our regional and state providers. And so we typically send flash reports, and that's just an example of one when there's some activities that are worth notating. That does make its way all the way to the SOC. There's a lot of interest in Monterey County and Santa Cruz specifically. And so just the constant communication that we're sending out on ReadyNet, the responses we're getting from you back into this communication was extremely helpful. So thank you. Next slide. These are just two pictures. One was that preparation and response to the Monterey Bay Peninsula, and the other is the EMS guidance that we set forth. If you haven't seen these, and this is something you'd like to get a copy of, please let me know. I'd be happy to provide that to you. And next slide. There were obviously some great after action points. I think there's a lot of great things that went right. We are not going to do any sort of silo after action. We're going to wait for some of our partners at the DEM to kind of do that, our EOC partners to kind of put together some formal after action. But if there's anything that you felt went right, or anything that you felt we can do better and you want to get that to the EMS agency, we would love those comments and feedback. It's only going to prepare us to be that much better for the next incident. And next slide. There was a PSA. I won't go over that video, but again, the county on behalf of the entire county just really wanted to thank everyone for stepping up and providing for not only your staff, but the residents and visitors. of this county. It was, I believe, as successful as we could have been. And again, lots of great lessons learned, but I was pretty happy to see the outpour of support. And next slide. Are there any questions we had, just kind of specific to Mohawk or the winter storms in itself? Questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. And again, thank you for all of your efforts and all of the EMS agency team who staffed the MOAC during the course of the last several months and helped to continue to deliver good care to the county. Also, just to the stakeholders involved, I realize this is a strain on the hospitals in terms of staffing and just with the potential for being cut off on the peninsula. So thank you for helping make this as smooth as a process as possible. So thanks everyone for the effort.
Excuse me, Dr. Burley.
Yes.
Susan is on now.
Oh, perfect. Hello, Susan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's kind of strange because it's not the typical Zoom setup. Do you want to go to my item or I can wait?
Yes, that'd be great. If you don't mind presenting, we would appreciate it.
Sure. Is there a way I can be made a panelist so I can share my screen?
I think we can do that. We're working on that.
Ah, there we are.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that?
I don't think we see it yet. This
No.
screen.
All right. Hold on.
Also, Susan, if needed, I have the PowerPoint if you need me to share it, and I can just advance the slides for you.
Yeah, give me. Not, if you don't mind doing that, much appreciated.
No problem.
So as everyone knows, the governor ended the emergency order related to COVID-19, and with that ended the AB 361, which allowed people to attend via Zoom to meetings. In its place, well, I shouldn't say in its place, but a bill was passed called AB 2449, which in my opinion is extremely convoluted and complicated. So the reason I'm starting out with the old Brown Act teleconference requirements is that is the easiest thing to do. And if you need to attend a meeting and can't attend in person, this is the way I would recommend you go. And it simply requires you to identify on the notice where you're going to appear from. The bad part of it is you have to put the address from where you appear from. Since most of you are first responders, it can simply be, you know, the address of your location, whether it be, you know, fire station XYZ or AMR's, you know, office, but that location must be accessible to the public. Now, is the public really going to show up and demand to sit by you for the entire meeting? Probably not, but you're required to under the Brown Act. And then all votes must be by roll call. So that's kind of the old Brown Act, which is simpler, as you'll see as we go into AB 2449. Go ahead to the next slide. AB 2449 was passed I guess in an attempt to allow continued remote appearance by committee members on occasion. Although I have a lot of issues with it and it's complicated as you will see. There is evidently some further legislation that people are trying to pass through that would make it simpler to appear remotely. But if you choose to appear remotely through AB 2449, the whole meeting has to be a two-way visual platform like Zoom or Microsoft Teams. And the whole meeting has to stop if the person appearing's internet or access gets interrupted. Members must participate both audio and visual. And then the remote member must identify anyone 18 years of age or older that's in the room with them. So if you're appearing from home and your spouse is in the room, you have to identify for the public that your spouse is there as well. Go ahead and next slide.
Hold on just 1 second, Susan.
Mhm. See, it wasn't just me.
I'm not sure what's more stressful, actually giving a presentation or sitting in that seat, because when everyone's watching you, it's like when just even letting people in one day for Karina, you know, trying to facilitate the meeting and letting people in, I was stressed out. So, you know, it's okay. We'll get through it.
Yeah, I'm with you. The technology, I can talk all day, but the technology part always throws me for a loop. All right,
Right slide,
there we
Susan.
go.
Okay,
Was I on 2 or 3?
I think you were on this, I think this is the
Okay.
third slide.
There's a limit to how many times you can appear remotely under 2449, which puts the onus on the committee member and on the legislative body to track it. And it's basically, you can't do it more than 3 consecutive months or more than 20% of all meetings in a calendar year. There's 2 ways you can appear or be allowed to appear remotely under 2449. One is a just cause, and one is an emergency circumstance. And we'll get to what constitutes just cause versus emergency, but either one requires a quorum of the members to be in a single physical location within the jurisdiction accessible by the public. So basically you have to have a quorum sitting at Schilling to kind of simplify that requirement. Go ahead to the next one. Just cause. The member must notify the committee as soon as possible, but you can do it at the start of the meeting. And you just provide a general description for the record of why you need to appear remotely. And you don't have to go into the details, but it can be, I have a kid with a cold at home, you know, I have a cold, etc. The board doesn't need to vote on the just cause exception, but you only can use the just cause exception twice per calendar year. Go ahead to the next. The emergency circumstances, same thing, the member must notify the committee as soon as possible. It has to be a physical or family medical emergency that prevents a member from attending in person. You don't have to disclose a medical condition, but the committee has to vote on the emergency circumstances exception. And if the committee is notified after the agenda is published, you have to add it as an urgency item. And see, I'm hoping you realize why I think this is a horribly convoluted law. But go ahead to the next slide. So essentially, EMCC members now have to meet in person. The meetings can be available by Zoom as we're doing today. And I have EMCC, I apologize, I'm doing the same presentation for the EMCC, but the MAC today. And essentially, you have the just cause or emergency circumstances clauses. We are discouraging their use because of all the various requirements, and it's frankly easy to get confused and mess up. And with that, that's the end of the presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them to the best of my ability. You can turn off the slide.
Susan, one question I had was, this applies to committees that are under the Brown Act.
Correct,
And
correct.
so EMCC is required to be under the Brown Act, but MAC and OPS are not necessarily required, or? they are?
No, they are Brown Act committees because they are standing committees. In other words, you meet regularly. My opinion is that they are Brown Act committees.
Wait, but nothing we do here is binding, right? I mean, it's an advisory.
Yeah,
committee.
it
I mean, I've
has-
been reminded us like multiple times. When we
Yeah,
vote,
yeah,
and
no,
don't agree
I-
with the agency, but
Yeah,
it strikes me as ridiculous that there's all these regulatory requirements if it's not a binding legal committee.
Neither is EMCC technically, it's an advisory committee. So it is the fact that the board appoints the EMCC, and the EMCC in turn has a subcommittee that meets regularly. So you are tied to the EMCC. And it is because the Board of Supervisors appoints the members of the EMCC that you are bound by the Brown Act. If this was an ad hoc committee that was specially formed with a limited time period, then it wouldn't be necessarily bound by the Brown Act. But this is, unfortunately.
You want to talk about policy 1020? And our desire in July? Okay, okay. We'll carry on. All right. Thank you very much, Susan. I appreciate the report.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't write the law, but I am happy to facilitate anytime you think you're gonna need to appear remotely. And as I said, if you were a first responder and have a regular office, a lot of our supervisors are appearing through the old Brown Act and just putting their office as the address. So that is an option for you. And with that, I'll shut up and leave. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Susan. She's giving us information that's the.
Now we have to find a way around it. So
It's not what we wanted to
EMCC
hear.
So EMCC should just declare they did an ad hoc meeting and pick a random month, just not have it the same. So EMCC meets in March and they say, we did an ad hoc MAC in May, and then you're out of there, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
Just check
A
with
good
Susan.
attorney would teach you the ways around. it.
Yeah. Well,
We'll consult with Susan because that was the goal as we were revising.
You might need
policies.
somebody more creative than Susan. She's a.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I'd find if you.
Yeah.
I'd find a more
As you
creative
stated,
attorney.
it's quite convoluted, and I attend county meetings in 4 different counties, and there's definitely a difference in interpretation.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, just have EMCC declare the time randomly. Put them in a random number generator. Pick it, as long as it's not scheduled regularly and EMCC declares it. Anyways, or we can just all come in person.
That's not-
But then the downside of that is that, you know, getting a quorum can be difficult, right? Like.
I know.
We
Well,
all
if you
have
release it
schedules.
the year before, we all
Yeah.
know the schedule, we can just put it in our thing.
Oh, they declare 4 random meetings.
You're more likely to get people on Zoom probably than you are local, but
All right, well, we'll kind of, you know,
This will be a
regroup with
creative
Susan
challenge.
and see if there's any way to meet remotely, but.
it's gonna be
we'll
a
go from
challenge.
there. Yeah, I don't know.
What, I didn't understand what she's talking about, the home office stuff. I mean, all the physicians are independent contractors of home offices. Can we participate under the home office clause there too? With the first responders, she was saying if you're at a first
I think she
responder
was
agency
saying
or something.
that you have to like make your location known. So if you're calling in from home, you would have to like list
Alright.
your home address.
I don't care.
But it still doesn't allow you to, you know, phone in and meet remotely on a regular basis. It's
okay.
just like,
Okay. Just if I'm sick.
She said it's 20% of the time also, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's not
like-
very much.
Yeah,
It's
not
like
even
one
one
meeting.
meeting.
No more than
Yeah.
three
Actually, if we only do
consecutive
4, we
months,
can't
it's
even do
another
1 a
20.
year.
Right,
It's really not helpful.
right. I
We
mean,
need to be more creative than this. There's a lot of smart people in here that have to find a way around this.
or maybe 2449 gets changed.
That would be ideal.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
just.
that requires the legislature.
I would imagine there'd be a lot of pressure.
I mean, these days with the commute, it's just painful to commute for almost 2 hours for an hour and a half meeting.
All right, one more to come on that issue. So let's go back to the agenda, which under the reports, we have ambulance patient offload times with Kimberly Hernandez.
Morning. There was an APOP PowerPoint within your agenda packets. And it showed October through December. And everything remained pretty stable through APOT. There's 90%, 90th percentile and then average. There was some increases in, I'm sorry, it was October through January. There was some increases in November and December, and that doesn't seem surprising considering all of the, we all know that there are a lot of RSV cases and inundation in the ERs. So any questions on APOT? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kimberly. And that will move us on to project updates. The first one is the 2023 policy and protocol review cycle. And Steve Brooks has something for us on that.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody in person and some of the new people also in person today. All right, so this is the final, what we call the final administrative step in many ways for the 2023 policy cycle. We've been through the part where we've brought forward the policies and protocols that we're looking to review and potentially update. We've brought those through the public comment process, multiple opportunities for discussion. And now we are finally ready to bring them to MAC to have our system members and representatives endorse them. So that's what we're looking for today is from this body, an endorsement that are ready to move forward, add these to the policy and protocol packet binder, if you will, and make them effective July 1, 2023. So the reason 60/30 is up here is as we've gone through the cycle, every now and then somebody says, oh, hey, you know, we really need to do something that didn't quite fit into our cycle, but it makes a great deal of sense. So we need to try to bring it into the cycle so it's effective on the July 1 date. And policy 60/30, quality improvement related to emergency medical dispatch. Currently, as you will see on this slide up here, that we have a 10% minimum review of our EMD calls, which is actually a fairly significant number and well exceeds the standards by the academy that has created the standards for EMD. So what we're looking to do is propose a 3% or 100 calls, whichever is greater. So it decreases the workload of Sandra, I think, a great deal, and yet follow the guidance of the academy and allow us to properly oversee the EMD program. So that's one change that we are asking you to endorse, along with the whole packet of policies and protocols. A couple of the areas that we want to mention, we've really done a good job, I think, in this cycle of updating the policies and protocols for some consistency issues, one of which you see in the staff report. We talked about needle chest decompression, inconsistency between the policy and the tool that we use to have the paramedics on their annual skills review, where that can be placed. So we've cleaned that up. That's much more consistent. We're moving towards accreditation of our EMTs and emergency medical responders. And the reason we need to do that is we have, as the EMS agency, requirement under Title 22 to have policies in place to allow us to use the additional scope and optional scope items that Dr. Burley has authorized for our system, which allows us to be very progressive and easy to people in the community. So with that, we have to ensure the training is undergone every 2 years. And the best way to do that, and to follow the lead of many other counties, Santa Clara, Alameda, Cocoa, is to do a local accreditation. And that will help us validate that that training has been done. And therefore, you'll see that as a major piece. Another policy that's been updated are facility transfers, and dealing specifically with what do you do when the physician writes orders that exceed the scope of practice of the transporting provider. So we've clarified that for the process. I've gone back, if you will, to the future and updated the policy for physician on scene. We used to, back when I was an early EMT, have cards that we would hand to a physician if they're on scene and give them, the direction of what they can do and what they were required to do if they wanted to participate in managing the patient. So those are some of the policies that had more of a update than others. The protocols, stroke patient transport criteria is updated. We've added new policies to expand respiratory distress to allow for other conditions beyond just those that needed albuterol, bronchodilators. So with that, before I move on into our training tool, any questions related to policies and protocols that we can answer as we, again, seek endorsement of our policies and protocols? Hearing none, if you think of them, we can still talk about it, but if you could bring the PowerPoint slides up, the training tool. So as we've done for the last few years, we've created a training tool to be used to train our field personnel in the update. We're not necessarily training them in the medicine. We're showing them what the policy changes are so that they can follow policy, because they should know what the policy is, what the intent is. And so we've created a PowerPoint training tool to train our field personnel. It could be beneficial for our hospital physicians who are giving, in the as base hospital physicians, the direction to the field staff, but it's primarily focused towards the field. As we've created this, we've also done it in a way to make it easy for the facilitator of the discussion to know what the main points are. So we've created the course objectives. We've got objectives for all the main points in the update. As you look at this, we've, and go ahead to the next slides. We've got, keep going. Past objectives, here we go. So we've listed all the policies and sections, those have had significant changes, those that have, and so as we do that, we list what the main changes are. We haven't dealt with all the details, we summarize some things such as clarity of language. So as we go through each of the ones that are main, we've created the specifics. Keep on.
Where do you want me to go, Steve?
Go to the next list.
Okay. Oh, minor changes.
Okay, so with minor changes, again, the same thing, we've listed them out. And as the same with the major changes, we've talked about what the changes are, and then to the next list. And then for those that are just administrative changes, don't change any direction for the policy or the protocol. We've just listed those because, again, it's just administrative changes, changing a little bit of language to make it easier to read, clarify that there's no policy direction change at all. And that's mirrored also with the protocols. In addition to this, we'll also be providing a post quiz so that we can have our providers ensure that the field staff has grasped the main objectives. The quiz is based completely on the course objectives. And that's basically where we're headed with this. We're ready to, with that endorsement, put this into a final form for training and distribute out so that we can be ready for the April 1 start of training. From there, we'll add them to our website so they're available to everybody and also place them on the EMS app. So if you don't have the app, that's really become our policy and protocol manual. Please download it. It helps greatly. And with this, any questions on the policy or protocol cycle? Again, we are asking for endorsement. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So we can go ahead and entertain a motion for endorsement of the 2023 policy and protocol review cycle.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Dr. Kalinsky. Do we have a second? Dr. Greenson, thank you. So we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote.
Okay, Dr. Kalinsky,
Aye.
Dr. Orchard.
Aye.
Dr. Greenson.
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
Carrie.
Aye.
Josh.
Aye.
Ben.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Anybody I miss?
Thank you. The vote carries. And so that'll move us on to the next item under project updates which is the health data exchange implementation. And Jesse, that's your item.
Yeah, so I've been working also with Kimberly on this. We've been sort of tag teaming. I'll give an update on HDE. So currently, we have been meeting with CHOMP. We met with them on January 12th. We've had a good meeting. We have continued dialogue back and forth just as we kind of get a true bi-directional exchange with CHOMP. We're still trying to get a meeting scheduled with me. We've kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock there, but we're hoping to get back on track. We've had a second meeting with Natividad and had a great meeting with Carly, one of the nurses over there. We have a kind of bi-directional list of things that we would like added to again be truly fully bi-directional, and right now they're looking at that list. We have another meeting scheduled soon, and then Salinas is operational, and they have been for a couple of years. Any questions on HDE?
Thanks, Jesse.
Probably take the next two as
The
well.
next two. So the next item is MAC nominations.
So at the last EMCC, we had two members officially nominated to this committee. Julie, did I say that right, Tovar? Jamie, I'm sorry, and Josh Savion. Jamie is representing Me Memorial, and Josh is representing the BLS first responders kind of at large. We have three members who have been identified and are going to EMC today for official endorsement. One of those includes Chief Reyes, who will be nominated by the fire chiefs, who will be representing the ALS first responders, and then two alternates. One is Chelsea Metler, nurse at Natividad, and the other is David Thompson from Salinas. So hopefully we'll get those endorsed today. I will be reaching out to you if you have, like I just hit up Josh today. I know you're brand new, but there's an alternate, and we just want to make sure we get those filled if possible. And then the MAC expiration dates, I did reach out to the membership last month just to kind of remind you of when you are coming up for your term. A lot of us expire in June, a handful expire in next June, but I will send a letter if you're expiring this year, just to kind of start that process and hopefully continue your involvement or identify a better representative from your committee. Any questions on MAC membership?
Do we have any movement to fill the ALS primary ambulance provider position? I know that several of our staff have sent in requests to be acknowledged and have gotten no contact back.
Yes.
Then,
I can provide an update on that one. We have had some staff reach out. Unfortunately, many of the staff members, once we've reached out back, haven't followed up. So I do have a meeting with one of your staff members tomorrow, actually, to discuss the position. So great, we hope to be making some progress on that.
And I believe that is the only primary opening we have right now, thanks to Chief Rez, that's it. So we're really hoping to get that filled. So I'll work with Deborah on that and move on from there.
I want to say thank you to both committee members and to the members of the team for working on this. In the time that I've been here, it's always been a challenge to fill all of the positions. I remember when I first joined EMS, there were times that we were canceling the meeting because of a lack of a quorum, and so we added alternates, and that made things better. We haven't had canceled maybe a meeting or two for a lack of a quorum, but it hasn't happened that much. And getting all the positions filled is challenging. So we really thank you for identifying people and sending them our way. We really appreciate it. The members for helping us identify alternate people who can be your alternate, and the team for getting those through the system very quickly. EMCC is a different story because they have to be appointed by the Board of Supervisors, so it takes us a little longer to get that done. But we haven't seen this many positions filled. In the past, they were not filled. So I'm very grateful for all the efforts that have been made and the success in filling them.
And thank you for members for stepping forward.
Yeah.
And volunteering to.
I just like to say, I agree. I mean, the committee makeup has definitely improved recently. So
Thank you for
we're
that
we're
comment.
able to hold much more consistent meetings and get a whole lot more done. So I appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, that'll bring us to the next item on the agenda, which is EMS System Quality Improvement Program and the Continuous Quality Improvement Technical Advisory Group, CQI TAG, and Blake Anderson has a report for us on.
Good morning, everybody. So some of this has already been addressed a little bit, so I won't go too much into details, but in your agenda packets that was sent out, we did include the CQI TAG report. And we'll start off with our STEMI and Stroke Quality Improvement Committee. Unfortunately, we weren't able to hold our most recent meetings for those. The STEMI was supposed to be held on February 7th. Stroke was supposed to be held on February 22nd. There was concerns with the data before the meetings as we're pulling them and assessing them, that there may be some issues with it. So we're trying to verify our data and before we present these to any committees. However, we were able to hold our first trauma or TQIC meetings since February of last year. So we were happy to do that. That would prove very fruitful for us as the agency. During that time, we went over the policy and protocol reviews, as we just mentioned here. We also addressed topics such as the core measures as set by the state. We addressed pediatric patient triage, and we also reviewed some recent recommendations that were published about field trauma triage. And Dr. Burley was able to, and Steve were able to speak on that. Pardon me. Then afterwards, we also did the 2022 cumulative reports, specifically for our trauma-related categories. And after this meeting, we did identify some areas where we have opportunities for improvement, and we'll be moving from there. CQI TAG, we were able to hold on February 22nd. Started off with Dr. Burley and I giving a brief presentation on our CARES program and high performance CPR in particular, which is, we're excited about where we're going with that program. And we also discussed topics such as the QI plans that will be coming up, and the new deadline, or the current deadline, which would be May 30th. And then explained afterwards that from going on forward, January 30th, starting in 2024, will be our deadlines for QI plans and annual updates. Jesse already just mentioned about the health data exchange, so I won't go too much into that, but something that the EMS agency does want to kind of bring to the attention when it comes to continuing education opportunities, that the California EMS Authority will be hosting 2 virtual summits. One is on STEMI, one is on stroke. The stroke virtual summit will be at our normal time, what we do for one of our QI meetings. So we're gonna push our QI meeting, our stroke QI meeting back that day. So that way our stakeholders have the ability to attend the summit. We would really encourage them to participate in both days. The first one will be on June 27th, and that's the STEMI. Stroke is gonna be on June 28th. Registration is not started yet. That will begin in April. And in your packet, you do have a contact information for Dr. Nassar from EMSA, and you can obtain more information on that. Times are still to be determined at this point. And then we also listed here our next semi-QI is scheduled for Tuesday, January 6th. Our TQuick is scheduled for June 8th. CQI tag will be April 26th, and our stroke QI will be Wednesday, June 28th. Does anyone have any questions at this time? If not, thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Blake. All right, so that brings us to the next item, which is future agenda items. Does anyone have any items that they'd like to place on future agenda for MAC? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to, sorry.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry, Devin, yes.
Hey, good morning, Dr. Burley. Sorry, I'm remote. Yeah, as soon as our MOU gets signed and in our possession, I'd like to do a presentation of where we're going for the joint protocol.
Absolutely. Thanks, Devin. We'll look forward to that, and we could already the board endorse this.
It's been approved by the board.
Yeah.
We waiting for the board order to finalize the signatures, which is what he's waiting for.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like we're in the home stretch on signatures, and we'll most likely be able to put that on our next MAC meeting agenda pending the completion of that. So thanks, Devin. Any other future agenda items? Okay, any announcements for good of the order?
If I may, Dr. Burley is always so eloquent when he expresses the gratitude of the EMS agency or acknowledges the work that everybody's doing, that I often stay quiet. But I just want to say thank you to everyone. It's great to see everybody's faces, and thank you for all the work that you do. They help us to make the system a better system. So we are planning to, our goal, once we knew that in-person meetings were gonna be resumed, is that we are planning sort of to take our show on the road. We want to make sure that the meetings are held in different parts of the county so that some people who are coming from South County are not always having to come to us or from the peninsula. So we will be identifying. I've done a lot of those meetings in my previous life. So we just need to make sure that we schedule the rooms to be able to, in the future, maybe starting in July, where we can plan some of the meetings to be held in different parts of the county.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. So that brings us to the next meeting date, which is scheduled for Wednesday, May 10th of this year, and that'll be at 8:30 at the usual time. And we will let you know about location and further information for that meeting. And unless there's anything else, We can go ahead and adjourn. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate again the time and effort it takes to come in person. And as Teresa mentioned, we definitely appreciate your input and ongoing commitment to EMS and service delivery within the county. So thank you all for being here, and drive safe out there because it's pretty wet.